Hey everyone, my name is Logan. Today we're going to cover how you can create your very own West Elm inspired wall art just by using Adobe Illustrator. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then just keep watching. First things first, if you're new here, my name is Logan. I'm a graphic designer, illustrator, and surface pattern creator. I love coffee, naps, thrifting, and true crime. If you're interested in bite-sized design tutorials, then please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell to stay up to date when I release a new video. Let's get started. Things we love about West Elm. Their designs often feature clean lines with a mid-century modern aesthetic mixed with many natural materials, all of which make a space feel very warm and inviting. However, the high price point is an issue for many of us. Let's just jump onto the West Elm website and have a look through the wall art section. I'll point out a few that I think will be a good beginner project, and please let me know in the comments if there's any styles you like that we can cover in a future lesson. I like this neutral floral one with these kind of organic shapes. I really love the color palette on this one, probably because I love anything mustard yellow. The line and dot patterns on this one are fun. And I've been more and more drawn to these radial patterns, and this is a great idea for a set. These four are going to serve as our inspiration for this lesson, and you'll notice that I said inspiration because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So often, artists and designers are not valued the same as traditional careers, and I think it's great when artists are paid their worth, but I also think that there is value in creating budget-friendly alternatives. And again, we're using these designs as inspiration and not something that we're going to outright copy. Let's jump right in. First, we're going to launch our Adobe Illustrator and create a new file. Now, if you have a certain size print in mind or frame that you want to design art for, then go ahead and use that size. But if you want to follow along with me, I'm going to use a standard size 8x10 artboard. And if you're new here and you're already lost, check out some of my other videos on how I set up my document and an intro to using the toolbar. I also have a free cheat sheet that I will link in the description for you to download. And I'm just going to start with saving my file. I like to start by creating a color palette, and I'm just going to pick out some colors that look similar to our inspiration prints and add them to my swatch palette. Go ahead and choose your own colors, otherwise you can use the CMYK values that I have in my swatches. I like to work from the background and then go forward from there. So I'm going to start with the background color, and I'll go to my Shapes tool, hold Control to get to the rectangle, and then click once with the mouse anywhere on the artboard and this window will pop up, and I want it to be 8x10 just like my artboard. Then I want to change the swatch to that kind of off-white gray color, and then we're going to go to our line palette, and you can get that from going to window if it's not already showing, and then you just want to align it to your artboard using the directional keys that you see here, and you just want to make sure that it's aligning to the artboard and not the key object. My rectangle defaulted to have a black stroke, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Now go back to your selection tool, and we're going to make what's called a clipping mask. This just ensures that all of our elements are clipped neatly into the rectangle shape and do not go off the sides of the artboard. To make the clipping mask, we're going to make a copy of the rectangle by pressing Command C and pasting it behind the rectangle that's already there, which is Command B to paste in back. And while that back rectangle is still selected, we're going to hold Option and Shift and put our cursor at the corner point and drag outward to make the rectangle behind larger than the rectangle in front. Then we'll select both rectangles, and to make our clipping mask, we will press Command 7. This will clip the outer rectangle into the inner rectangle, and it should look something like this. Next, we're going to start drawing some background shapes. I'm going to change my fill to that kind of muted navy blue color and going to the pen tool. I'm keeping it very abstract. It's okay if it's messy at first, we can fix it. Use Option to adjust the little anchor points. The pen tool is a very difficult tool to get used to, so be patient with yourself. And once all the points are connected, if you have any weird lines, you can go to the smooth tool. If you click on it once, it will simplify the shape, and if you want to focus on certain areas, you can kind of brush it along the part that you want to adjust. When you're finished with that, you're going to clip it into your background, and you can cut the shape by using Command X and double click into the clipping mask and Command F to paste in front. I'm going to add a similar shape in a different color on the other side and repeat the same steps that I did with the first shape. I'll choose the swatch color that I want, and then I'll go to my pen tool and I just start drawing a very abstract shape and connect all the points again. And I'll speed this part up a little bit. Then I'll go in with the smooth tool to simplify the shape and get rid of any weird edges. I'm going to cut, Command X, and click into my clipping mask by double clicking and Command F to paste in front. Let's take a quick moment to save our file. It's always a good rule of thumb to save early and save often. Now let's talk about navigating your workspace. If you're dealing with intricate details, try moving off the main artboard. Hold down the spacebar to activate the hand grabber tool, allowing you to easily shift your artboard around. And if you need a closer look, hit the letter Z and click inward to zoom. Let's draw an organic floral element like our inspiration print. Start by just sketching random shapes with the pencil tool. And we're not going to stress about perfection, just ensure that the paths are closed. Once you've got your petals down, tweak them individually until you're satisfied. And for an extra pro tip, hold down Shift while resizing to maintain the proportions. Next, we're going to merge the petals, select all the petals, head over to Pathfinder, and hit Unite. So now all your petals should be one cohesive shape. Now onto the flower's center, use the pencil tool to sketch a scalloped shape. Repeat the same process and choose a different color. Create an oval for the center. Group them all together by selecting and pressing Command G. Now let's grab the entire flower and place it back on the artboard and hold Shift to keep the same proportions. Next, I started experimenting with a few smaller shapes. I think of them as little flower buds that have yet to bloom. Create shapes with the pencil tool, adjust, pick a swatch color, and use the oval tool for added dimension. Next, I'll show you this cool trick to make these radial shapes similar to our inspiration print. I'm going to move off of the artboard again, just like we did with our floral element, and I'll start with the line segment tool. Click and drag downward, and you'll see how the line can go in any direction, but if you hold Shift down, then it'll just become a straight line. Then I give it a stroke color. Next, go into your stroke palette and check the dashed line button. For this design, I want a rounded edge to my dashed lines, and so I'll choose the middle option on the corner and cap section. Next, we'll experiment with the point size fields. The first field is for how large you want the dash itself to be, and then the next field is for how large you want the gap. And you're just going to keep experimenting until it starts to look the way that you want. But if you would like to just keep the default equally spaced dash lines, that is completely fine too. Next, go to Object, Repeat, and choose Radial. And as you can see, it just repeated that dashed line for us. And so this is really a handy tool to have. And to further adjust, use the little circle with the arrows on the right side, and it will adjust the amount of dashed lines. The symbol at the bottom is for if you don't want a complete circle and you want to delete just a section of the lines. You can resize this smaller and larger by going to the selection tool and holding Option Shift while you are resizing, using the corner anchor points, and it'll get larger and smaller from the center. Once you're happy with that, make sure to expand the shape so you don't accidentally change it, and you do that by going to Object, Expand. With Object and Fill checked, you're going to hit OK. And if it doesn't fully expand to a fill, as you can see with mine, it's still a stroke. So just go to Object, Expand once more, and then it'll change to a fill. Now let's switch gears and I'll show you a different kind of radial design that you can create. Starting with my oval tool, and to make a circle, you hold Option and Shift. Next, to make a copy of it, I'm going to first hold Option and then start to drag my copy downwards. Then after you start dragging, while still holding Option, you're going to then add the Shift key to keep the circle moving downward in a straight line. I'll make the second circle a bit smaller and actually change the fill color to white. And you'll see in a second why I'm doing that. Next, go to your selection tool and select both circles. Go to Object, Blend, and Make. Now you see how my blend just created one continuous path from the kind of gray larger circle to the white smaller circle. That's not what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for a bit of spacing between the circles. And to fix that, you're going to go back to Object, Blend, and then you'll go to Blend Options and change your spacing to specified steps, and then from there you can reduce the amount of steps, and I ended up settling on 7 steps. This next part is important to remember. You can't just go directly from your blend that you just made to the radial tool. You have to first expand it. So we'll go again to Object, Expand. Now it's an expanded shape, so now we can go back to Object, Repeat, Radial, and create our radial shape. Again, we're using that little symbol on the right to drag it up or down. And once we're happy with how it looks, go to Object, Expand, so that the shape is set and we're not going to edit it anymore. I'm going to keep these off of the artboard for now, which brings us to our next step. Alright, and if you haven't saved recently, now would be a really great time to do that. Our next step is to get inspiration from these kind of dashed lines and dot patterns. Let's begin by hiding these floral elements. So I'm going to select them both and then do Command 3 to hide. This next part is going to be the most tedious part of the tutorial. All I'm doing is rotating between the pen tool, selection tool, and smooth tool. I'm focusing on filling the page with these patterned lines. Now, you do not have to do the entire page. If you just want to do part of it, that is absolutely fine, but I just wanted to show you guys a few different techniques that you can use. Once I create my line, I'm just going in with the smooth tool. Then heading over to the stroke palette, just creating rounded caps and corners and creating a unique dashed line pattern. For this part of the design, I just want to step the pattern all the way across the corner. So all I'm doing is selecting it, dragging it while holding Option, and then once I do one step, then I use Command D and just keep pressing Command D until I get this pattern here, cutting it and clipping it into my clipping path. Then I'm filling in this page with random patterns and tweaking it as I see fit. There's really no right or wrong way to do this, so just be really patient with yourself and have fun. Try a few different styles out, and if you don't like it, you can always go back and redo that section. If you get tired of the dashed line pattern, experiment with new shapes and create a dot pattern. It's really entirely up to you. This is also a really great way to experiment with some of the tools on your toolbar and get used to navigating from between your keyboard keys and your mouse. Once you have filled your artboard or the section that you would like to fill, then you are ready to move on to the next step. Okay, we are on the home stretch. Let's unhide our floral elements by doing Command Option 3. Now I'm just going in with the final touches, rotating anything that needs rotating, just placing all of the elements onto the art the way that I want them, just tweaking these radial designs, adding additional shapes so you can more easily see them on the background. I decided last minute that I wanted a moon shape, and I created this by creating 2 circles and going over to my Pathfinder and using the second one in, which is the minus, I believe. Once everything is placed the way you want it, you just want to make sure everything is within your clipping mask. Next, I'm placing a textured TIFF file that I created for this tutorial, and if you would like to use it, there's a link in the description. Click once to place the file, and then go to Align and just align it to your artboard. And TIFF files are really nice because you can change the colors of them. And so for this one, I'm just gonna choose that darker navy blue color. Then I'll go over to transparency and set the blending mode to multiply. And see, that's a little too grungy, and so I'm going to bring the opacity down to about 40%. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to cut the texture and paste it into my clipping mask. Okay, and that's really it for the design. Now, as you can see, my print is very busy. I wanted to show you how you can create multiple different shapes and combine elements, but you certainly do not have to do this many. You could just pick one to focus on. Export your file by going to File, Export, and Export As. You can save it to your desktop, or if you have a specific folder. You'll likely want to save it as a JPEG and then check Use Artboards and then click Export. Then I would leave it as CMYK, do maximum quality, high 300 ppi resolution, hit OK. Then all that's left is to print it out and frame it. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I would love to hear some feedback in the comments section. How did this tutorial go for you? Was it too easy? Was it too advanced? What was your favorite part? What did you struggle with? And what kind of videos do you want to see on my channel in the future? Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things EchoWood.